The fascinating story of a plane crash on the Andes Mountains unfolds as survivors resort to extreme measures to stay alive. After a plane carrying 45 passengers, including a soccer team, crashes into the rugged Andes, 17 people perish. The remaining survivors, besides being injured, endure freezing temperatures of -30 degrees without warm clothing or enough food to sustain them. Search and rescue efforts are halted after 8 days with no success, pushing them to the brink of life and death. In a desperate bid to survive, they unanimously agree to use the bodies of the deceased as a source of sustenance. But that's not the end of their ordeal, as a fierce snowstorm further depletes their strength. Will they find a way to survive? Stay tuned with Short Story TV for the continuation of this gripping tale. After the storm cleared, they began to explore the terrain and set a course for December 12, 1972, about 2 months after the accident. A group of 3, including Barid, Canessa, and Vinton, decided to climb the mountain range in search of rescue on the 3rd day of the search. Bado also reached the summit and discovered a vast expanse of mountains stretching to the horizon. They speculated that the way out lay beyond the mountain range and remained hopeful despite running out of food. Vinton had to return to the plane, leaving only Parado and Canessa to continue. After a few days of trekking, they finally reached a field on the evening of the 9th day of the search. While Parado and Canessa rested and searched for wood to make a fire, they spotted 3 horsemen on the other side of the river. Overjoyed, Nendo and Kana stood on their side trying to shout for help. One of the horsemen promised to return the next day to assist. The following morning, the 3 men tied a note to a rock, briefly explaining the plane crash, and threw it to one of the horsemen who had ridden for hours seeking help. Eventually, a helicopter arrived, bringing relief to both Parado and Canessa the next afternoon. On December 22, 1972, the helicopter finally arrived at the location, bringing joy to the survivors. Half of them were airlifted by the volunteers who stayed behind until the second helicopter could reach them. They had to spend the night inside the aircraft due to the dangerous night flights over the Andes. The second helicopter arrived in the morning of December 23, rescuing the remaining 16 survivors and transporting them to a hospital in Santiago due to hunger and malnutrition. The survivors told the press that they had survived. They tried to survive by eating format and other foods they brought along. However, on December 26, 2 photos taken by rescue team members were unexpectedly featured on the front pages of 2 major newspapers. The reports stated that the survivors had to use the same species as food to survive, shocking the world. Some false rumors spread saying they harmed some survivors to get meat. Later, the Catholic Church clarified that the students had to do so to survive, so they were not guilty, and the families of the deceased supported the students. Despite this, the media continued to sensationalize the issue. As for the unfortunate victims, they were buried under the rock, 800 meters from the accident site. A cross was erected at the center of the grave, with the remaining parts of the burnt aircraft. To prevent curious onlookers, it is still considered one of the world's most famous plane crashes due to its intriguing details and the trauma that the survivors had to endure every time they recall the difficult decision-making moments for survival. What would you do if you were in that situation? Leave a comment below to let us know. Thank you for your interest and follow-up.